Are foxes a serious problem in urban society? Before this question can be answered, we have to find out how foxes came to live in our towns and cities and why they chose to leave the luscious British countryside. Looking back in time to World War II, land was cheap and huge developments of semi-detached suburbs were being built all over what used to be fox habitats. Instead of the new developments scaring off the foxes that lived there, it provided them with a much more comfortable habitat, low-density houses with large gardens and access to human waste food. The new habitat for the foxes had improved and the number of foxes increased, as now it was easier to source food and survive harsh winters. Soon, foxes started venturing into more built-up urban environments where food was plentiful. So now we have established that the foxes were forced to enter our towns as we built our homes on top of theirs and made them share their territory with us. Has it started to cause serious problems as we now live together? Before we can answer this question, we must first identify what possible serious problems a fox may cause and if these problems can even be classed as serious. The first and most publicised serious problem are the attacks on humans. Due to the media radicalising some of the facts within the stories, it has made some people fearful of having foxes around, especially near young children. One story that made the headlines was of a young boy bitten by a fox whilst he was in his local playground. As this story was just one of many fox attack reports in the media at the time, it made many people think that having a fox near to their property was now a worrying aspect. This is John Bryant, a fox deterrent specialist who dealt with the fox attack case in Brighton.
And they knew they had a fox that slept under their building. It's like a porta cabin type building. This fox slept under the building regularly. The previous year they had a litter of cubs underneath there, and the children were all fascinated watching the cubs and everything. This year there was only an adult that turned up and was just sleeping under the building every day. So they had a private party, and there are two versions, we're not sure which is which, but this child either saw the fox there and went down and either stroked it or pulled its tail, or it was reaching for a ball that was underneath. And when I looked under there was balls underwear, because foxes do pick up balls and take them into their dens and things. So this fox objected anyway and bit the child in the arm. Now, it was a very minor injury. Went to hospital and then went home. So there was nothing serious about it. But the interesting thing was that somebody in that party of adults rang the press and the police, and the police came out, and the press turned up, and then it's all over the front page of the Daily Mail.
We are able to see that what's reported in the media is often exaggerated. Also, looking at the case of the twins attacked in London, some experts are unconvinced that everything reported was true. But even if both cases were 100% correct and both attacks were from foxes, could this constitute towards being a serious problem with foxes living within urban society? We can clearly see that over the last year, there have been 3 reported attacks on humans from foxes compared to 3,000 dog attacks. Also, there are more than 700 wasp attacks on humans each year that result in hospital treatment being needed. It's true to say that the number of fox attacks can't be classed as a serious problem simply due to the small number of attacks. The second issue that could be seen as a serious problem is the fox numbers increasing. If the number of foxes in towns and cities keeps increasing, then this may become a serious problem, as it could be like having giant rats all over our streets. With more foxes, there could be more attacks.
There's no chance of the fox population increasing significantly. It's in London and the southeast, and it's slowly decreasing anyway, because as more and more local authorities install better waste disposal systems such as wheelie bins instead of black plastic bags out in the road for every cat and fox in the neighbourhood to tear into to get some food out, then the fox population is going to decline, because food availability is the thing that governs most wildlife populations. So the population has been stable now. It's been about 10,000 adult foxes within the M25 circle probably for the last 2 decades at least, and there's no indication that's increasing. And in fact, the evidence, anecdotal though it is that it's probably on a slowly decreasing.
Luckily for us, foxes are self-regulating animals, so the numbers will never increase, meaning that this can't be classed as a serious problem. So why have there been more sightings than ever before? There have even been sightings of foxes as far into London as Downing Street and even at the top of the Shard in London. They do seem to be seen a lot more often than before, and this is probably why we think the number of foxes have increased. So is a reduced fear of humans now allowing foxes to venture out into urban society? One major reason for this could be that some people are treating foxes almost like pets. This is Louise Quinn. She has a family of foxes living in her garden who now rely on her for food. She has inadvertently removed the fox's need to hunt.
We've often opened best tins of tuna and things like that and given to the fox, or cooked up pans of minced beef to take out. Especially in the snow and the bad weather, they really do appreciate all what's given to them.
This may seem a very kind thing to do for a wild animal, but the fox will now expect the same treatment from other people. Gary Houston lives a few houses away. Unlike Louise, he does not like foxes in his garden.
They come in the garden, they dig up the lawn, they dig up my vegetables, they mess all over the place. I hear them in the garden, I come running out, try and shoo them away, and they take no notice, bold as brass. Just stand there, look at me as if I'm the one in the wrong. So I send the dog out, I have to worry that she doesn't get attacked because they're so bold, but she seems to see them off.
A typical urban fox's territory can cover about 100 houses. Looking at Louise and Gary's homes on a map, it is very likely they are both seeing the same fox. The problem is the difference in attitudes. Louise entices the fox into her garden with food, and the fox is then showing Gary no fear, expecting the same treatment. The serious problem here is not the fox being in the gardens, but human ignorance. Although Louise may feel she is helping the fox, in actual fact she is endangering it, as people like Gary are likely to have the fox destroyed by pest control. This begs the question, is it best not to feed foxes altogether? This is Trevor Williams, founder of the Fox Project.
To that we would say, well, throw out a few handfuls of peanuts and raisins. The animal will be out there for quite a long time picking that up. It's getting a treat, it's getting an added bonus to its diet, and so everybody's getting the benefit of it. Also, they've got nothing to take away and bury in next door's garden who don't happen to like foxes and who don't like the idea of digging up their pansies and finding there's half a dozen lamb chops there decomposing and full of flies, so don't make that a problem. By putting down too much food, you can be making a problem for the fox indirectly, even though you never know that's happening.
Well, feeding foxes is generally inadvisable, and I think, in fact, feeding any wildlife artificial amounts of food is probably not a good idea. But sometimes it's necessary, because if you have a sick fox, badly injured fox or badly diseased fox, and the wildlife protection interests want to get it captured in for care or even euthanasia, then you're going to have to feed it for a few days to get it used to going into a cage trap so that it can be captured and taken into a wildlife hospital.
The Fox Project is a charity service that treats injured foxes and then releases them back into the urban environment in which they were found. It is necessary for them to leave food out for foxes in people's gardens so that they can entice them into a cage. This is animal rescue driver Sandra Reddy, who has been called out to an injured fox spotted in a garden by a resident living in a town. The call came in 2 weeks ago, and a cage was placed in the resident's garden with food inside, and today the injured fox has been caught. Now she can collect the fox and bring it in to examine and treat it.
It's a 2-week treatment. She's had her first Ivermectin injection, which is for mange, and the second one is due 10 to 14 days later. And then once she's had that, she'll be ready to go home. All the mites will be dying now after that injection. And the second injection is for when all the eggs that the mites lay hatch in 2 weeks' time, so that's why she has another injection in 2 weeks' time. Her lung problem, a week's worth of antibiotics, and that should be better.
This fox would have probably died from its illnesses without treatment. If it had not been for the resident calling in and the method of leaving food out for the fox, it would have never been treated and saved. So in this case, feeding a fox is essential. Are foxes a serious problem in urban society, and what have we found out? There have been very few fox attacks on humans, and the ones that have been reported are very controversial. The numbers of foxes won't ever increase, as they are a self-regulating animal. The reason we are seeing them more often is because people like Louise are feeding them and inviting them into our gardens, making them bolder. The serious problem is not the fox living in urban society, but the lack of understanding that we have about how a wild fox should be treated. If everyone loved having foxes in our towns and cities, then there would be no issue about whether they should be here or not. So I leave you with the question: would you rather have one fox living in your garden or 20 rats?
I guess I'd have to say the fox.